Did you know that I used to make Insurgency Sandstorm videos like 5 or 6 years ago? Probably not. You're probably a new person and you don't know who the hell I am. But regardless, I made Insurgency Sandstorm videos a long time ago, and they were not the best.
We're about to win. Okay.
And so here I am, 5 to 6 years later, with something that piqued my interest and might pique yours. And here it is. Did you know you could play Insurgency Sandstorm in VR right now for free? Fucking carnage here. There's like 15 dead bodies here. Jesus Christ. So before we can dive into the actual game itself, we got to get it set up and installed. So there's a certain procedure to this. Now this is just going to be like a little bit of a basic overview of how to get it installed. I'm not going to go into the fine details and the fine print of it. I'm just going to help you get it running for the first time. If you've got any questions or concerns, I'd hop on the Flat to VR 2 or Flat to VR Discord, whatever it's called. I'd hop on that Discord and see if you could get any help from there, because they're much better suited to that than I am. Also, another thing, this is pretty resource heavy, like as in you need a decently powerful PC to be able to run this. I've got a 4070 Super with a Ryzen 5 5600X or something like that, and you'll see in a minute, it got pretty laggy. So for starters, you want to go ahead and get UEVR, which is pretty easy. You can just search that up on Google. Next up, you want to get a Sandstorm profile from the UEVR Profiles website, or you can get it from the Flat to VR Discord that I mentioned earlier. I almost said it again, Flat to VR 2. Once you've got that profile, go ahead and load up UEVR and import that profile by hitting import config and just finding the uncompressed folder. Next up, you're gonna have to set up a shortcut that runs Insurgency Sandstorm without Easy Anti-Cheat. Since UEVR is an injector and Sandstorm detects that as anti-cheat, you'll need to turn off the anti-cheat. So just go ahead and go to the game folder and then copy a shortcut of sandstorm.exe to your desktop or wherever you want it to be. Then head to the properties for that shortcut and go to target and then put -EAC-NOP-loaded. That'll make it to where when you launch it through that shortcut, it won't load Easy Anti-Cheat at all. It'll just skip that. So then you'll want to get your VR headset ready, whether it be wireless, wired, just anything that works with Steam VR, or virtual desktop. Virtual desktop works too. That's personally what I use. Go ahead and start up either Steam VR or virtual desktop XR if you're using that, and then load up UEVR. Launch the game through that shortcut and then hit inject and UEVR, and then you should be green to go. Now the game might not be completely adjusted to your liking on first startup. That's exactly why I said I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty details. Like for example, you might need to adjust some graphics settings or turn down the render scale or edit some controls around. It just depends on your system and how the game starts up. And also, like I mentioned earlier, you've got the Flat to VR Discord that's got all these control schemes, performance settings, and help with any other crap you come across. So how did the game play for me? For this section, I'm just going to do like a pros, cons kind of thing with some gameplay spliced in there, hopefully. Point out some things I really liked about it and some things I really did not fucking like at all about it. So, pros. Well, first of all, the game is just fucking unbelievably immersive already in the desktop version, and that translates over seamlessly over to the VR version. God, that looked real. I got like tumbled down the stairs and everything. I'm kind of connected with that point. Everything is highly detailed across the board. I mean, from sounds to weapon models to character models, particle effects, pretty much everything is just so unbelievably detailed, and you can tell the developers put so much love into this, and it translates so well across to VR. I mean, even just taking a look at the gun models, it's almost as if they were meant to be viewed in VR because they're just so detailed. And by the way, I had the graphics down to, I think, medium or high, down from very high, which I usually run on, and it just looks so good. It just looks so amazing and detailed. It's like it was meant for VR. Another thing is, for something that was ported over to VR through a free mod, it plays relatively well, but not perfectly, and I'll get into that. And finally, my last point is that it brought new life into the game. It felt like a fresh experience for a 6-year-old game? I might be wrong about that. I know it's been getting some updates here and there, but It's just not what it used to be back in the day, like 2018, 19, 20. And this mod changes that. I mean, I'm comfortable saying that this mod may or may not bring me back to Sandstorm for a while. Also, as mentioned at the beginning, if you have the game and a VR headset, this is free. This ain't a paid DLC or some shit like that. This is completely free. Now, some things I didn't like, and come closer. Come here. Come closer. It's fucking laggy. I know I mentioned my graphics card earlier, 4070 Super. It's a relatively good card. No, actually, it's a good card. It's not top of the line. It's not perfect, but it's not mid-grade. It's good grade. And hopefully I've got some footage trailing or playing while I'm saying this, but it ran at like 60 or 90 frames when I'm usually getting like 120 straight on any VR game I fucking play. There's always this kind of stutter in the footage, and you might think, oh, well, that's a tracking issue, or that's something wrong with Steam VR or the headset. No, that's lag, because I played it on my fucking Quest 2 trying to get 120 FPS, and I did for a little bit, and you know what happened? It fixed it. It wasn't there in the footage that I recorded later on. Now I get it. This is an unofficial mod for a game that never supported VR in the first place, and I get it. I understand. But that's not going to stop me, professional bitch, from complaining about the frame rate all the time. Now my next point is that it was kind of a pain in the ass to get working. First time setup wasn't terrible. I'm talking about like reliably getting this thing to work several times in one session. Like you're restarting the game, you're restarting UEVR, stuff like that. Like you're closing it out multiple times. It's a free mod, it's open source. It's not going to be perfect. I mean, this might just be my experience, but it was a pain in the ass to get this to fucking work perfectly every time. I mean, like in general, bugs with starting it up, bugs with getting the game going, just things like, oh, the UEVR menu won't open to change the render scale, so now I'll have to run the game at 2 times render scale and at like 1 FPS. Or shit like there's a cursor on the screen and now I can't fucking move my controllers around for whatever reason. It was the smaller things like that that just added up over time and just made the whole experience just like 10% worse. And that kind of leads into my next point, in that saying that as hard as the devs for UEVR and the devs for this specific profile work, it's still janky as fuck. The point before was talking about like just getting the UEVR settings and game settings and things like that worked on. This point refers more to like in-game stuff, like, oh, you can't actually aim down sights because if you do that, you're misaligned or something like that. So when I hip fire this thing and I just line the sights up, I'm able to hit relatively well. Like I'm able to get most of my shots on target, but then as soon as you ADS, it's just misses across the board. And that really sucks, because in the base, desktop version of the game, you aim down sight not only to hit where you're aiming, but also because if you hip fire everything ever, the recoil is all over the fucking place. In this, you just have to hope and pray that your arms and hands are stable enough to be able to hold, sight picture by hip firing. That kind of stuff just adds up and turns this from, oh my god, this is the best fucking mod ever made, to, well, it's good, but I wish they fixed this or that. And last but not least, well, actually least, I wasn't personally affected by this, but I'm sure a good number of people would probably get motion sick from this. I don't ever get motion sick from anything VR ever at all, but I know people who do, and I guarantee you they would. Sometimes you'll get this weird, like, stuttery, shaky thing that you've seen in the recordings, but it can also happen in-game. That could really fuck you up. There's also no way to change it to teleport movement or, something like arm swinger. There's no real diversity in movement modes at all. It's just you push that joystick to move around and the right joystick to look around, which that could probably make somebody motion sick too. But yeah, just people who get very easily motion sick, I would probably advise against trying this, or at least try to get comfortable with it before you actually dive into a full fucking game where you're jumping around, proning around, stuff like that. Alright man, you've been talking for several minutes at this point, or however long this video is. What's the TLDR? What's the quick scoop? What's the overall review on what you think about this mod? Well, I'll tell you, I actually overall really enjoyed this mod. I can say, like I pointed out in the positive section, I think this mod breathes new life into this game. I really think this mod just lets the details and the intense combat and just the crazy chaos of just super close urban combat, it just lets all that shine in VR, even more so than in the desktop version. Now, more on the multiplayer, I don't actually know if you could play with other VR people or even other desktop people at all. I haven't looked into that. I also haven't really looked into mods or mutators or shit like that, but there is a mutator for it. The VR mod, I forgot what it's called, is like utilities or something like that. That's a mod that I think disables the ADS completely and tries to align the hip fire thing like I was talking about earlier. Haven't tried it. That's probably why I'm having issues with the hip fire shit. But all that to say that multiplayer and mods could probably work with something like this as long as you're running it outside of easy anti-cheat. So overall verdict, if you have a VR headset and you have this game and you are really looking for something like more realistic than Pavlov, or same level of realism as Onward, but you want larger scale, you want it to be more intense, I'd say this is worth a try. Yeah, it might be a pain in the ass to get set up. Yeah, it might be janky as shit. Yeah, it might run like shit too. And yeah, you might need a 4090 to actually be able to acceptably play it. But at this point, I'm begging you, if you have Insurgency Sandstorm and a VR headset, it doesn't matter, like a Quest 2 or PSVR 2, hell, a Quest, whatever. Go ahead and give it a try. I mean, I gave you the installation instructions. I told you how to play it. I told you what I think. Go ahead and give it a try. It's absolutely worth a try, especially since it's completely free. So that's going to wrap it up for the Insurgency Sandstorm in VR review kind of thing. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video because this is a completely different format from any other video on my channel. I've never done a review kind of video like that. Well, it's not necessary. Well, I don't know, it kind of is. But I've never done something like this, like a review-esque, or I've never even done Facecam ever. I may have streamed Facecam, but I've never published a video with me in it on a Facecam. So yeah, this is just something new to me. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know if you did or didn't. Yeah, I want to try some new things with the channel, try some new video formats, get back to a consistent schedule. I know that's always been hard for me, but hey, I promise this time I will try. And I do actually kind of want to dabble back into live streaming a little more. I'm trying, the last time I streamed, I tried to multi-stream both to YouTube and Twitch, and it actually worked pretty good. I just didn't stick with it at all. But yeah, that is going to wrap it up for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know your thoughts down below. If my face is fucking ugly and you never want to see it again, let me know. If my face is fucking pretty and you want to see it every video from now on, let me know that too. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next. That's such a cringe fucking outro. Just bye.